It's a Monday episode of Locked On Grizzlies, and I'm in my bag, baby. I am a ready, willing, and able bag talk guy. Apparently, Damichael Cole isn't. We'll talk about that later on in the show. But I'm in my bag to begin this program because if you're an everydayer at Locked On Grizzlies, you know my bag is getting irrationally mad about things that have no relevance whatsoever. Jaren Jackson Jr. insulted by NBA2K. That's how we're going to start this episode of Locked On Grizzlies. Let's lock in.
You are Locked On Grizzlies, your daily Memphis Grizzlies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to this Monday installment of Locked On Grizzlies. It is I, Joe Mullinax, back with you and alongside the incomparable, the talented, the handsome Damichael Cole, Memphis Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal there in Memphis, Tennessee. You're in your bag all the time. That's why I'm so excited for the end of our for the end of our show today. Don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I feel like you're always in your bag, and yet you don't want to talk about it. But we'll talk more about that down the road. Excited to be back with you together. Again, we've talked on past episodes this month of August. A little bit different. Damichael will get a show. I'll get a show. We'll maybe do one or two together a week. Hopefully, folks understand that it's the dog days of the off season, and we don't want to insult your intelligence. So we have a chance to take a step back for a little bit. And you guys know when you tune in to Locked On Grizzlies, we're not talking about, the NFL or something like that. We're actually talking Grizzlies basketball here.
Yeah.
Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts as proud members of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every single day. Like, comment, rate, review, subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, YouTube, literally anywhere you get a podcast. Become an everydayer each and every time an episode drops. Again, this time of year, not quite every day. We try to shoot for 3 or 4 shows a week, usually closer to 3. But every time an episode comes out, hopefully you're hanging out with Damichael and myself as we continue on this journey that we like to call Locked On Grizzlies. Damichael, it's always good to see you.
It's always great to see you.
We touch base, see what we want to talk about.
We got a lot to talk about today. We do got a lot to talk about today.
Again, it's one of the nice things about the lighter schedule is we're these next 30 minutes are going to fly by. And we're going to start off with these NBA 2K ratings, right? 2K26 is coming out here in the next month or so.
Yep.
And folks are excited. One of the ways they try to whet your appetite is posting these ratings, right? And we'll get to ones that maybe are exciting for the Grizzlies, ones that maybe are a little bit cause for concern later on in the show. But I wanted to lead off with this first one because, I've seen a lot of dumb things.
I've
said dumb things. I want to stress that. I've said dumb things before. I also have acknowledged dumb things before. This is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. All right. NBA 2K26, top 10 in blocks. All right. Number 1, Victor Wembanyama. Yes, that's totally fine. Makes all the sense in the world. No disputing. Number 2, Chet Holmgren, 97. Again, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Robert Williams III and Donovan Clingan of the Portland Trailblazers, 95 and 93 respectfully. I'm starting to have issues.
Yeah, all right.
Walker Kessler, 93.
I can respect it.
That again, starting to see some at least some logic applied there. This person, I need your help. Bona? Like, I watch the NBA pretty regularly. I don't know who this person is. Bona?
Oh, for the 76ers.
I thought when I read that, I thought they were trying to prank me. Like
they are pranking you. This is a prank. It's a prank.
Like a pause, right? Like I thought it was like a pause thing, like a bona or a bona, right?
Like a boner.
I was like, this is a prank. This is punked. I'm getting punked right now because they want me to say a bona on a podcast. That's why they're doing it. 7, Jonathan Isaac, right?
Jonathan Isaac,
again, decent defender. I again, it's not a bona, but it's fine. Daniel Gafford.
I'm not flying for that. Yeah.
Derek Lively II. Again, those two kind of make sense, right? Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively II, 2 bigs for the Mavericks that are pretty good defensively. Number 10. Surely, if you're an everydayer of Locked On Grizzlies, you're thinking, okay, this is where Jaren Jackson Jr. comes in, right? 2-time, multi-time, all NBA defender, defensive player of the year a couple years back. Surely this is where Jaren Jackson Jr., who was 5th in the NBA in blocks last season, Surely this is where he comes in. Number 10, Jay Huff.
The guy that played with Jaren Jackson Jr.
Jay Huff has a higher block rating in the initial ratings for NBA 2K than Jaren Jackson Jr. The first thing I thought was I got punked, right? Again, I'm not going to say it again. If people have the time, they'll clip it up. There will be all sorts of fun things on TikTok, right? The second thing I thought was how in the world, it's my busy time of the year, school year starting, football. How did I miss Jaren Jackson Jr. retiring, right? How did I miss, as someone who covers the Grizzlies and has
he went overseas. He's playing in Europe now.
He plays in Europe. He's in the Europe League. He's in the New Zealand League that everybody, NBL or whatever it's called.
Jaren's going on to Barcelona.
Rest in peace to Jaren Jackson Jr. I feel like we would have had episodes that we would have had to do because something happened to Jaren Jackson Jr.'s career. He would not be able to be top 10 in blocks in a video game that is literally about the National Basketball Association. But no, nay, niet. This is actually a choice that people that are paid more money than me, and I don't know your financial situation.
They do some good research. They do some good research on this stuff, man.
They decided that A. Bona and Jay Huff are better defenders than Jaren Jackson Jr. in terms of blocks. And that is the most absurd thing I think I have ever said on this podcast. And I just said A. Bona multiple times. That is ridiculous to Michael Cole. It's ridiculous, and I'm insulted for Jaren Jackson Jr.
A. Bona. His name is Adem Bona. Adem. But
Adem Bona?
That's his name.
Adem Bona. I apologize to Adem Bona. Okay. Again, that's part of the point, Adem Bona. You shouldn't be on the list. Neither should Jay Huff.
He was a rookie last year, and I don't even think he played like 20 minutes a game for the Sixers. He didn't have a major role. But anyways, this is a travesty. I mean, this is one of those things where 2K should come out and say, "Oh, it was an error." If you look at the interactions just on social media, because sometimes interactions will tell you a lot. If you go post by post, they've released these top 10 individual player archetype ratings. Like right now, we're talking about the block ratings. There's been a steal ratings that have been released. We're going to talk about some more ratings in the next segment. But they've released all these different types of ratings. And this one specifically, the block one, has easily got more interaction than any of them. And I think with that notable name, Jaren Jackson Jr., a former, he's led the league twice in blocks per game the last 5 years. He's led the league in total blocks. You mentioned even the last 2 years, his block numbers have went down, which I think maybe they're putting too much into that because he's averaged 1.6, 1.5 blocks the last couple seasons. But he's still in the top 10. It's not like there's 15 guys getting more blocks than him still. So, and I like the way that you worded this first because now I'm gonna lob you something, Joe. I like the way that you worded it. You said Jaren Jackson.
You liked the way that I worded A. Bona, or you liked
no,
you didn't like that part. Okay.
If you're watching on YouTube, you see the first bullet point says Jaren Jackson Jr. insulted by NBA 2K. He didn't say Jaren Jackson Jr.'s block rating was insulted by NBA 2K, because I'm gonna go another step. I saw the post control rankings too. So
he's surely top 10 in that.
Post control, right? Because I talked about it on a recent episode. I don't know if you got a chance to look at that, but his numbers inside the arc, the mid range, the post, it's all green. He is very efficient in those areas.
One of the most elite isolation scorers in the league.
We saw the right-handed hook. We saw the left-handed hook. We saw the spin. We've seen the growth in his post game. Jokic is number 1 in post control. Duh. Joel Embiid is 2. Sabonis 3, Zubac 4, Giannis 5, Karl Anthony Towns 6, Alperen Şengün 7, Pascal Siakam 8, Jason Tatum 9, Victor Wembanyama in the year of our Lord 2025 has a better post game than Jaren Jackson Jr. according to NBA 2K.
Wait a second. Hold on.
You heard me.
So Victor Wembanyama, who gets yelled at every game when he's healthy, right? And again, that's important.
For launching 10 threes.
Yeah, Joel Embiid on that list, the guy might retire.
And Wemby should be at some point a much better post scorer.
But he launches 10 threes a game, right? At 7'5". NBA 2K, do better, if I'm being honest. You have directly insulted the intelligence of basketball fans. You have given Damichael Cole and I content on this day, August 18th, which we appreciate this time of year. But that's just utterly ridiculous that you would do such a thing to Jaren Jackson Jr. The man just signed a near max contract extension. He is one of the top 20 or so players in the NBA. And yet, the thing that he is known best for on the defensive end, Jay Huff and Adem Bona, did I say it right that time?
There you go.
Are ridiculously in front of Jaren Jackson Jr. And I'm not trying to insult anybody else that's on the list. If Jaren was 9, I might raise my eyebrow, but it's hard to say, like you like to say when we do this exercise to Michael, who is he replacing, right? That's a totally fair way to do it. There's definitely 2 people that Jaren Jackson Jr. should be replacing on that list. Hit Damichael and I up on X, at Damichael C, at Joe Mullinax. Hit us up in the comments. How are you feeling about Jaren Jackson Jr. being blatantly insulted by the creators of NBA 2K? I don't know what Jaren did to them, but clearly he did something. When we come back here on Locked On Grizzlies, we're going to talk more ratings. There's one in particular that has Damichael and I pretty fired up in a good way. There's another that maybe is cause for concern. We'll talk about that next here on the podcast. Stick around. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by FanDuel. I lied earlier. I apologize, dear listener, dear viewer. We are going to talk about football briefly, but it's for FanDuel, and we love FanDuel here. It's officially FanDuel Futures Day coming up on August 26th, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. So if you want to completely shun the Green Bay Packers and say they are not going to do anything in the NFC, but you know who is? The Washington Commanders. You can crown your champion in August. I've got the Washington Commanders winning the Super Bowl. I'm sure Damichael does as well because he is in the know. He knows about football. It's certainly not going to be Green Bay. Baby. But anyway, whether it is taking Jaden Daniels for MVP or the Washington Commanders to win the Super Bowl, you can get in on the fun using FanDuel. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. All right, Damichael, so you did an awesome job earlier in the show explaining the archetype ratings and that sort of thing, what we're talking about here. I was so angry that I got really fired up. I just kind of went, people are probably like, what is he yelling about? Like, I don't even understand why he's so mad. You helped cover that track for me, which I appreciate. Yeah, with that in mind, talk to us about a couple that you and I noticed that we were also intrigued by in terms of, the offensive side of the court in particular.
Yeah, and I want to keep the listeners who don't care about 2K ratings specifically engaged too, because the thing is, these ratings are kind of, they're basically because of what these guys do on the floor. So this is in another way. Basically, these guys are basically being critiqued.
Except for defense and blocking, obviously, because that's not the case in that particular
clearly that one was that one was overlooked. But there were a few of them that really stood out to me in this particular exercise as well. I'll start with a concerned one first. And to me, that was, no, we're going to start on a good note. We'll start on a good note. Ja Morant got some good love on a couple of these, right? Ja Morant ranked really high in ball handling. I think that was one that you pointed out. He's third. Kyrie Irving got a 99 with his ball handling. Steph Curry was 97. And then Ja Morant is at 96, which puts him right above Trae Young, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Brunson, James Harden, Luka Doncic, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant. So some really good players that Ja Morant has a higher ball handling rating with. He also was second in speed with the ball. De'Aaron Fox is number 1. But, that might be a little debatable, but De'Aaron Fox is number 1. Ja Morant's number 2 in that one as well. And then he was top 10 in driving dunk, which isn't a surprise, but he's second. Anthony Edwards, number 1. Ja Morant, number 2. So speed with the ball handling, driving dunk. Basically, as we've learned over the years with 2K, now this is more for the people who actually play 2K. Ja Morant's going to be a cheat code on the game again. That's clearly what this is alluding to. So you're one of those 2K players. Just spam just spam the down button, and if you got a PlayStation, hit square. You got an Xbox, hit X, and Ja'll probably dunk on 2 or 3 people 5 times out of 10. So there you go. But yeah, Ja Morant, a lot of good things for him on that end. To the opposite, there were a couple concerns, and the one that stood out to me was top 10 3-point shooting. We saw some familiar names: Desmond Bane, Luke Kennard, Grayson Allen, but none of those players are on the Grizzlies anymore. And we
surely is Ty Jerome on that top 10 list?
Ty Jerome did not make the top 10 list.
Uh-oh.
So it goes back to the question, and it's going to be a question until we have the answers in proof. I'm curious to see what the 3-point shooting for this Grizzlies team looks like. Like, we have an idea of how they can be good, but we also have an idea of how they could regress from the progression that they made last season after years and years and years of mediocrity as a 3-point shooting team.
I've talked about it on here. You've talked about it on here.
Yeah.
Ja Morant, until recently, until NBA 2K, I wanted to say 2K knows ball, because we have talked about Ja's handle and how it was underappreciated. Clearly not by the NBA 2K folks, because that's pretty lofty praise to be on near the top. And the 2 guys in front of him, you can't really say much about, right? Like, it makes total sense that you've got, Steph up there, and the ball handling list was probably Kyrie, I think, was number 1. Kyrie is seen as like a legend for his ball handling. I don't, that is like a good list. I thought they did really well with that personally. I also think, truthfully, they did really well with the 3-point shooting list. And I think Dez was 4th. I think Luke Kennard was a little high, right? But in fairness, it's just like normal 3-point shooting. It's not moving 3-point shooting. It's not 3-point shooting off the dribble. I'm guessing his rating is a lot lower in those circumstances. I share your concern about how the team is going to replicate what Desmond Bane in particular was able to do. Right? Because you are clearly tweaking and retooling. Maybe they're not as concerned about wanting Dez or a Dez replacement, because they know they can't replace him, and they're just going all in on the high rankings of Ja Morant and saying, and we've talked about this before on here,
unlock him to the fullest.
This is the one max player on the roster, right? Jaren's technically right there, close. But Ja is the one true max contract player. He's the guy. And at some point, if he's your guy, you have to go all in and build things around him and ask him. You've talked about this before, Damichael. It's time for him to score the ball. He talks about how he can score more. Well, let's find out. He talks about how he's more of a focal point for the offense. Well, let's find out. Let's see that career high usage rate and see what you can do. That to me is the biggest takeaway. It's going to be more so about Ja's gravity. I hate using that term, but it's going to be more so about Ja's gravity and open Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Jalen Wells, Ty Jerome, Jaren Jackson Jr. threes. It's going to be more about that than it's going to be the ability of Dez to create his own shot.
That's a great point. I completely agree with that. And but so on paper you don't have, I guess, the same level of talent with 3-point shooting, at least on paper. Now, the Cam Spencers, the Ty Jeromes. Ty Jerome has been a pretty solid 3-point shooter all his career. He had this big year recently, but the 3-point shooting wasn't the number that jumped like the rest of them. The 3-point shooting has been there since he's been in the league. So I think, this team could still be a really good 3-point shooting team. But now when you take out a Desmond Bane, when you take out a Luke Kennard, it is very much worth the conversation of, can they replicate that? Especially if you're an OG Grizzlies fan, you've seen years and years and years and years of mediocrity with 3-point shooting. So it's only right for you to have some type of concern in that area. But another couple of things I want to point out, because this whole shift defensively, right? You got this whole shift. We just talked about the identity changing. Top 10 perimeter defense. No Grizzlies made top 10 perimeter defense. And that's not really surprising at this point, but it's just something to point out, because look, you got Lou Dort, Dyson Daniels, Alex Caruso, Amen Thompson, Jalen Williams, Herb Jones, Derek White, Jalen Suggs, Tumani Kamara, OG Anunoby. Those were the 10 guys on there. I think that's a solid list. Not really complaining about that. But when you did top 10 steals, because the Grizzlies didn't have anyone on top 10 blocks, top 10 steals, Scottie Pippen Jr. made the list. He was ninth on the top 10 steal side. So look, like I do think that, you know, Scottie Pippen Jr. is someone who's going to have to be kind of, you know, that wrecking ball defender for them. But it's a good opportunity. Like, this is going to be something that's going to be fun to revisit when we see Jalen Wells the next year of him defensively, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, Cedric Coward, what he looks like, and several of those other guys who are kind of like Vince Williams being healthy as possible again. Like, what those guys are going to look like on the defensive end.
And it's important to point out in this, you know, new era of video games, the roster updates like as soon as it downloads, right? So these are the initial ratings that this is like, you know, back when I was a kid 20 years ago, teenager playing basketball games.
Yeah.
You know, this would be the ratings the whole time because there were no updated ratings. Now they update them like every 2 weeks or something like that. So, but let us know. Hit us up in the comments on X at Damichael C at Joe Mullinax. Are you positive with the John Morant stuff? Are you negative with the three-point shooting and the lack of perimeter defense? According to 2K, who, once again, just to remind everyone, did not have Jaren Jackson Jr. on a ranking list for top 10 in blocks in terms of overall scores and ratings. So take it all with a grain of salt, safe to say. When we come back here on Locked On Grizzlies, we'll close out this Monday edition of the show. Damichael is getting out of his bag. I thought he was perpetually in his bag, but he's no longer in bag talk. We're going to talk about what that means coming up next here on Locked On Grizzlies. Welcome back to Locked On Grizzlies. It is I, Joe Mullinax, one of your hosts. It's always a good day when I'm able to say that, because that means that Damichael Cole, Memphis Grizzlies beat writer, award-winning Memphis Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal, is along with us, my wonderful co-host. So the sun shines a little bit more brightly on Locked On Grizzlies when Damichael is around. And
when the duo's together, yeah.
I look at your X feed, your Twitter feed, for those that refuse to call it X, when I'm looking for content ideas, because, again, this is my busy time of year. Maybe I missed an article. I truly, when I say the only reason I still subscribe to the Commercial Appeal is Damichael Cole, that is 99% true. So, I might miss one, right? So I go and I see, let's see if I missed something. And you posted this on X, and it had me nervous for you, partner, because of anybody that is in their bag, right? And, you know, my understanding of being in your bag or bag talk is like it's your ability to do something well, right? Is that a fair way to assess bag talk?
Well, with a little flair to it. With a little flair.
Yeah, which, with a little flair to it. Yeah. When you hear me, like, I have an uncanny ability to make something that is cool not be cool anymore. So this might be the actual end of bag talk, this episode of Locked On Grizzlies, because no one's going to want to say it again after I've said it this many times, kind of like Abona. But you say, at Damichael C, bag talk is exhausting. Man, either you can put the ball in the cup or not.
Yep.
What inspired you to post such a thing and, you know, step away from the glory that is bag talk?
It's like the conversation. We have one of these every summer, it feels like, on Locked On Grizzlies. Last year, we talked about hoopers versus basketball players. You remember that?
Yes.
Basketball.
I learned a lot.
Yeah. This is going to be a similar conversation, because this whole idea of bag talk is basically guys who have the most moves. When you take away this, they can go to this. They have, you know, all these gadget fancy moves that allow them to score the basketball or to play make at a very high level. That's kind of the basis of bag talk. Bag talk now has become such a huge conversation because of the fact that, one, they use it to distinguish this generation of players from previous generations of players, basically saying this generation has bigger bags. Well, duh. Look, I don't want to harp on that point, because I'm gonna tie this into the Grizzlies. But people, I mean, look, evolution is a very simple thing to me. And if you see, as humans, we're constantly evolving. We're doing things that they didn't do 20 years ago, 40 years ago, 60 years ago, 80 years ago, 100 years ago, etc. It's the same way with basketball. As you go look at the game that was created, you know, in the late 1800s, early 19 by James Naismith.
James Naismith was in his bag when he created.
He was in his bag, but like you think he was creating a game thinking, oh, hezzy tween, midi pull up, jumper. Like no, he was putting a ball in a box. Like, but with all that being said, the game has continued to evolve. So people use it for that reason, and then the other reason, which pretty much led to me saying something, was the LeBron James talk. People say, oh, LeBron James doesn't have a big bag. Well, guess what? By definition or whatever, he probably doesn't have the biggest bag. But guess what LeBron James is? He's the all-time leading scorer in NBA history, and he's averaged over 20 points per game every single season he's been in the NBA. So the whole idea of bag talk is exhausting to me because it's all about what you can do. Either you're putting the ball in the basket or you're not, Joe. And I get back to that because the Grizzlies have had players on both sides of the equation. The Grizzlies have had guys that could do some of the gadget, fancy stuff. But then you look at the numbers, like Jason Williams, white chocolate. Everybody loves white chocolate. I don't want to sound like I'm dissing white chocolate because white chocolate was very fun to watch. But white chocolate had a huge bag, so to speak, because of his passing ability and things like that. Go look at his assist numbers. You're not going to go over there and see 12 assists per game in any year. You're not going to see Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, John Stockton type assist numbers, even though he had a quote-unquote bigger bag than you could argue some of those guys, whatever the case may be. Ja Morant now has, I think, a huge bag. He can go left hand, he can go right hand, behind the back. Desmond Bane didn't have as huge of a bag, but Desmond Bane scoring numbers, at least early on in the season before Ja Morant really, took it up a notch, wasn't really far off, from like if you look at Desmond Bane, especially last season Desmond Bane when he had the bigger role, and this season Ja Morant, you're like, oh, Ja Morant has a much bigger bag. But if you look at the scoring, it's kind of on par, tit for tat in a way. So look, and I think Jaren and Ja specifically, like if you want to tie into, they both have really big bags, but they're going to be guys on the Grizzlies. Like I'm really interested to see, Cedric Coward, how he continues to come along because, there have been players who kind of like Kawhi Leonard. When you look at the beginning of his career, it was a very simplified game, but now Kawhi has this very, nice tight dribble, the in and out, the in between moves that he has, things like that. And then there are guys like Kyrie who just came into the league, Kevin Durant, they just came in the league, just gifted with this huge arsenal of moves. But look, I forget the saying, Joe. You might remember it, but it was something like, oh, that's a $5 move with a 1 cent finish, something like that. So if you got a big bag, like what good does it do you if you can't put the ball in the cup at the end of the day? That's the name of the game. And there are guys who have ugly games. Like we've seen them in Memphis, like like Kyle Anderson, so to speak. But yes, it doesn't matter if you're putting the ball in the cup, you're getting the job done. Who cares?
I'll do you one better.
Yeah.
If you contribute to winning basketball, who cares, right? Like here, I'm going to do my best to not go on a rant, okay? Because this generation of teenager, I'm around teenagers fairly regularly.
Yeah,
and my players and students have discovered, a simple Google search of my name. It ain't football that comes up, okay? So every once in a while, they like to ask me about the Grizzlies and things like that, and when they talk about basketball, they talk about players like LaMelo Ball. All right, this is
going to drive Joe crazy right here.
Icon. Okay, LaMelo Ball is the greatest hooper to ever hoop in the eyes of 16-year-old boys.
He has a great bag.
He has a gigantic bag, not as big as Abona, right? Abona has a much bigger bag.
Abona has a much bigger bag.
LaMelo Ball has the biggest bag of them all, I'm sure, for a team that is habitually god-awful. And that's not entirely LaMelo Ball's fault, right? And I do think that context matters. But for me, I loved Kyle Anderson because you know what he did? He helped win.
Productive. Yeah.
Tyus Jones probably wouldn't be viewed as somebody that
he doesn't have a huge bag, but he has the best assist turnover ratio.
He contributes directly to winning basketball. Yep. And that is what I am most interested in. And that's one of the ways that I can tell that I am still, in case I forgot, very old and very uncool. because I just want to watch winning basketball. That's what I want to watch. If LaMelo Ball did all the things that he's capable of and they won, hats off to him. I want to watch people that win, right? Like Nikola Jokic. Does he have a huge bag depending on how you define it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe in the post, but
not in the traditional sense.
Yeah, not in the traditional sense. Yeah.
Zach Randolph, right? There was a video that went viral recently of Zebo. I would argue that guy had quite a bag of post moves.
Oh, yeah.
But how do you define what a bag? It's all so subjective, right? So to me, are you contributing to winning basketball?
Yep.
Right? Scoring more points than the other team. That obviously is an important piece.
Yeah.
But are you a winning basketball player? That is the bag that I'm most interested in. And I think that we don't invest in that bag as much in 2025 as perhaps we should, especially our youth. If I have to hear one more time how LaMelo Ball is better than Giannis, I'm going to throw up because it's just absolutely that's what the young people are saying, Damichael. That's what the kids are saying out in the streets.
That's not good for our future. Oh, no, that's not good. We need to.
That's a topic for another podcast.
Fix it, Joe. Fix it. I'm
working on it.
You got the keys to fix it.
I'm just glad that they know where Memphis is on a map now. Anyway, thanks so much for being with us on this episode of Locked On Grizzlies. It is much appreciated. Again, friendly reminder, it is the month of August. It's the dog days of the NBA offseason. The next time we'll have an episode will probably be around Wednesday. It'll be me flying solo. Maybe more NBA 2K ratings will come out. Maybe more cool things that I could make that sound a lot less cool could come around. I haven't really had a chance. I know I listened to your episode on the schedule release. I haven't really talked about key stretches yet, so that'll probably be the direction I go for in our next episode.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot to work with there. 2K is doing their top 100 thing right now too, and at some point they're going to make Joe mad. It's inevitable. So we'll see whether it's Ja, whether it's Jaren's ranking, and I don't know. I glimpsed at it earlier, but I believe when I saw like the rankings of the 100 through 80 players, there were no Grizzlies in there. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. So it's probably going to be something with Jaren's ranking, but we'll see. We'll see. Clearly, Jaren's probably going to be ranked lower than we expect based on what we've seen.
Correct.
With these other numbers so far that have been kind of gradually put out.
Spoiler alert. If they rank LaMelo Ball in front of John Morant or Jaren Jackson Jr., I am going to lose my mind on this podcast.
It's going to be historic.
It'll be a good one to tune in for. They're all good ones to tune in for. But if you want to watch me have a heart attack on a digital camera, by all means, tune in. Thank you so much for being with us on this edition of the show. Thank you for making us your first listen. For your second listen today, find the Locked On NBA podcast where there is no offseason. Doug, Matt, and Hayes keep you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything that you need to be the most informed NBA fan. Find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure you're liking, commenting, rating, reviewing, subscribing on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, YouTube. Follow us at Damichael C, at Joe Mullinax on X. Be a part of the conversation and check out this show, Locked On Grizzlies, each and every time that an episode drops. For Damichael, I am Joe. Stay locked in. This is Locked On Grizzlies. We are so glad that you are an everydayer. And if you're not, what are you waiting for? Click that subscribe button and we'll see you next time. See you.